The college football experience, South Carolina Gamecocks 2023 season preview episode on the Sports Gambling Podcast Networks, brought to you by our very own Patreon. Yes, score exclusive perks, content and contests, including our NFL win totals contest with $1,000 in prizes up for grabs. Join today at sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. At sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. We're also brought to you by Parlay Play. Yes, Parlay Play is a lead pipe locking, essentially for parlaying player props. Go to parlay.com or parlayplay.io and use the promo code SGP for 100% deposit bonus today. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride.
This is Mike Leach, head football coach at Mississippi State, and you're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Yes. Woo! Welcome to the college football experience. South Carolina Gamecocks 2023 season preview. I'm excited to talk Beamer ball and the Gamecocks as he enters year 3 in Columbia, South Carolina. Perhaps you're wondering who the hell you're listening to. Well, my name is Colby Swinging Database Dan, aka Pick Dundee. That's not a pick. This is a pick.
He was raised in the land down under, where a man thinks on his feet, speaks with his fists, and lives by his wits.
When Dundee happened, he was a superstar.
I'm probably drinking too much and celebrating too much and not sleeping. I would have killed a normal man, but no, that's gone. The medical advice I got from that was like being hit by lightning. Pretend it never happened and get on with your life.
Yes, year 3 of the Beamer experience. And I got to thank our guest here. So I feel like he helped sway me to the over a year ago. And the over cashed in. Yes, if you're watching youtube.com/the college experience. I am joined by, he's been a part of the footprint. Yes, he's been a part of the footprint of the college football and college basketball experience for quite some time. He is the host of the NBA Gambling Podcast, and I believe he resides some of the time in Columbia, South Carolina. So I figured I gotta hit him up. Give it up for Terrell Furman Jr. How you doing, bro?
What's going on, brother? It's good to be back. It's good to be here talking. I had the itch to talk a little college ball, and I did sway you on to the over last year, over 6 that cash. We didn't have to worry about it. But I was wrong, Kobe. I was wrong last year, and I wanted to apologize. And you and the people all deserve an apology for me being wrong.
Wrong on what? Yeah.
On this show, a year ago, you can go back and check the tape. I said that South Carolina would 100% beat Georgia and Clemson in the same season. They got destroyed by Georgia.
Everyone did, though, to be fair.
Everyone did.
Yeah.
But what do they turn around and do? They turn around and beat Clemson and Tennessee in the same season and go 8-5, cashing the over. Never in doubt. Go Gamecocks.
Yeah, actually, let's talk about that for a second, because honestly, I was going through this. I was looking back at their season from a year ago, and I'm sitting there like, when you start this off with, they didn't really beat anybody good, like Georgia State. Okay, and that game was actually closer than that final score. There was a couple block punts, I believe, that got the Beamer ball happened at Williams Brice there. They lose at Arkansas. They lose to Georgia. They beat a terrible Charlotte team. They beat a down South Carolina State team in the FCS. They beat Kentucky, but remember, Will Levis wasn't available to play in that game, right? So you're sitting there like, okay, they beat Texas A&M, who ended up 5-7. Unbelievable, terrible year for Texas A&M. And then they beat Vanderbilt, who was 5-7. You're sitting there as I was going down. I was like, they didn't beat anybody good. And then you get to November 19th and you're like, whoa, they beat the piss out of, the Tennessee Volunteers. I mean, a royal ass whooping. Now,
I was at that game.
Yeah, that's right. 63-38, and obviously Tennessee was rolling prior to that game. And then in Clemson, South Carolina, they come from behind, get the win 31-30. And all of a sudden you're thinking,
what is the last time Clemson lost in Clemson?
Yeah, dude, that's got to be, especially in that rivalry game. In that rivalry game, it's been probably even longer than the last time they lost at Clemson.
Yeah. They don't lose. They don't lose in Death Valley, and they went in there and put it on them boys for sure. Pause.
Got it done, and I in my opinion, like they were riding a ton of momentum. I thought, man, they landed a couple recruits that I thought were huge recruits. I know this 5-star out of DC was a stud that they got. And I'm sitting there like, man, Beamer has this momentum going. 8-5 season. He's 15-11 in 2 years, and I was on the fence a little bit. I know his dad was legacy, but I thought like, man, he never really, he was kind of a position coach, which sometimes it's hard to know how well you can coach if you haven't been an offense coordinator, defense coordinator,
Yeah.
So I was a little bit, like, man, are they giving it to him a little too early in his career? But man, he's proven me wrong a little bit. What do you think? Like, what do you think the people in Columbia, South Carolina, are they sold on Beamer and like this is the future?
Yeah, absolutely. They are. They're sold on Beamer ball. It was the win. If it wasn't solidified by beating Tennessee, who is also, a rival, you end up beating Clemson as well. That's the game in Death Valley. You went and got that done. You went to a bowl game. Like, this is 100%. This is 100% where, everybody wants Shane Beamer in his ball club. And it's really because Beamer, one, testament to trusting his defense and being able to retool that defense like they were last year. It was a very good defense last year. And then also he got the quarterback he wanted. It may not be the best quarterback in college football, but it's a quarterback he believes in and it can make plays for him. And that's Spencer Rattler.
Yeah. And him coming back is huge. We're going to talk all about that, but I think they're very happy with Beamer as well. Folks, we're going to break down the offense, the defense, the special teams. We're going to go game by game on the Gamecock schedule. We also got a visit from Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour, talk about his experiences to Williams Brice Stadium in Columbia, South Carolina. But before we do that, I want to tell you that the College Football Experience South Carolina Gamecocks 2023 season preview episode, it's brought to you by the Sports Gambling Podcast Patreon. Yes, sign up for the Patreon to get access to exclusive contests, including the NFL win totals contest with $1,000 for first place. Besides season-long contests, they also have weekly contests just for our patrons, plus a monthly SGP Stories podcast, completely ad-free and full of behind-the-scenes stories from SGPN. Look, we've been rocking independent since 2011, all right? So we got some good stories that maybe you can't release. Maybe Patty C cost me about $9,000 once on a bet. You're going to hear all that behind the scenes. Some Lenny Dykstra talk. Obviously, we got some great stories on him when he was a guest on our show. There's even a Discord channel just for those patrons. Only you can prevent corporate gambling. So do your part and sign up today. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Patreon. And remember, as always, folks, to let it ride. All right. We are back on the College Football Experience 2023 South Carolina Gamecocks season preview episode. And look, I mean, when we started doing this 5-6 years ago, the transfer portal, unless it was like a quarterback or someone that you knew was just a complete beast. You didn't really talk about it because it was like, Ole Miss had 3 guys, or something like that. You're like, probably guys that will matter 3-4 years from now. Shit has changed in the world, and man, I mean, the transfer portal is like it's like the 405 freeway out here in LA. So you got to key on it, and this is what I find so interesting. I'm gonna bring it back to the momentum thing in a minute here, but I'm going to talk about what is departing from South Carolina in the portal, and then what's coming in. Yeah, because I think it raises a few questions on things moving forward. Leaving Columbia, South Carolina, was quarterback Braden Davis. He headed out to the Syracuse Orangemen. Obviously, Spencer Rattler's there, so I can understand that one. Defensive lineman Demetrius Watson hit the portal. Offensive tackle Colin Henrik headed off to Georgia State and Atlanta in the Sun Belt. Safety Anthony Rose hit the portal. This is where, there's a couple of big time substantial ones. This is one of them. Jordan Birch, 4-star transfer, heads out to the Oregon Ducks. Was shocked to see him leave. He was very good a season ago.
Brutal.
Yeah. Then you had running back Rashad Amos head out to the Miami, Ohio Redhawks. Okay. That's not a huge one there. Defensive end, Ruddick Fitton heads out to East Tennessee State. Quarterback Jalen Daniels, not the Kansas Jayhawks, Jalen Daniels. He heads out to the portal. This one here, 4-star transfer defensive end Gilbert Edmond heads out to Florida State. So you lost both 4-star defensive ends that were studs last year, absolute studs. Critical. Wide receiver Corey Rucker heads back to Arkansas State, where he had transferred in the year before. Starting running back, 4-star transfer Marshawn Lloyd heads out to Lincoln Riley and USC. Brutal loss, right, left and right here. Offensive tackle Jordan Davis heads to South Alabama in the Sun Belt. Safety Tyrese Ross hits the portal. Tight end Jaheim Bell, stud, 4-star, goes to Florida State as well. Florida State just coming in and grabbing a couple, really good players from the Gamecocks. I mean, dude,
Bell was a dog last year.
Yeah, and even worse, the backup Austin Stogner, who was very good the year before at Oklahoma with Lincoln Riley. He jumps back to Oklahoma because he's from Oklahoma. Said he missed home. Cornerback Joey Hunter heads out to the Akron Zips. I believe safety RJ Roderick had hit the portal as well. But man, that's substantial hits. You're starting running back, both your tight ends who have proven to be good, really good, big time college football players, both your defensive ends, and then a couple other depth spots. But Rucker might have got some burn this year at South Carolina. I don't know, but let's talk about what's coming in, and then I'll get to the question I guess I want to ask. Now, I think they did a great job patching it up, considering losing those guys. Defensive lineman Jataeus Gear from Syracuse. I think they're excited about him because a few schools, a few big time schools wanted him. So trying to patch it up there. Charlotte offensive lineman Jackson Hughes. They got some tape on him because they played the Gamecocks a season ago. Wide receiver Eddie Lewis and the news coming over from the Memphis Tigers. Then you got the likes of JUCO transfer Mario Anderson at the running back spot. Arkansas transfer Trey Knox. Okay, that's a good. To me, I get it. Bell leaves for Florida State. Stogner leaves for Oklahoma. Those are two really good tight ends. Knox, though, was good at Arkansas last year. So to me, they did a decent job patching it up there. Ole Miss defensive end Jerron Willis comes in. They're hoping this can fill the gap from losing both ends to Oregon and Florida State. Florida tight end Nick Elksnis transfers in the Gators. Wow, rival going to your rival, taking a player. Also, Joshua Simon, a tight end from Western Kentucky. I actually like this one. To me, that one is going to be a sneaky because I think everyone thinks Trey Knox is going to start, and I think Simon can play too. So I think there'll be a decent battle in camp. If you watched Hilltopper football, remember they throw the ball about 1,000 times a game, but he can play. Offensive tackle Sidney Fugar comes in from Western Illinois. That's another thing. The offensive line wasn't amazing a season ago. So we're going to key in on that in a second. And Yale offensive tackle going to the Ivy Leagues. Nick Gargillo coming in from the Bulldogs of Yale. My apologies if I butchered your name. But, I mean, we're going to grade the portal here. I think you have to grade it a loss, right?
I mean, it's not just the portal. Like, you got to think. You lost your number 1, number 2 corners in Cam Smith and Darius Rush to the league. So if you add your league and the portal, it's a huge loss for South Carolina, and their additions have not made up for it.
Yeah, and this back to my question on the momentum. I don't understand the fact that to end the season, you beat Tennessee, it was like top 10. You beat Clemson, it was top 10. All of a sudden, it looks like, and you almost knocked off Notre Dame in the bowl game, and you didn't have a lot of players play in that game. Some people sit out, and you're like, okay, Beamer's really building this. Beamer Magic's working. And then I was shocked to see that this mass exodus in the portal. Does that ruin some of the momentum you think that they built?
I think South Carolina is getting some of the you're Power 5, but you're not really Power 5 treatment from a lot of the players and that respect and around the league. And it's the fact that, yeah, we respect South Carolina ball, but if we get a good year at South Carolina and that boosts our stock, that we can go to an Oregon, a Florida State, a Florida, if Oklahoma, if that boosts our stock and we can go over and make our way over there, absolutely, we're going to do it. And it feels like that's what South Carolina has been. That's what a lot of these other schools in these conferences in the back end of these super conferences and stuff, like they're basically getting the scraps. And it looks like South Carolina just continues to put people on and then lose them in the portal. Losing Bell was just tremendously
dude, both
rough.
ends are studs. Birch, stud, you know what I mean? Like Edmond, I think both those guys got a shot at playing in the NFL. Brutal hits. And you wonder if it's NIL, because you would think South Carolina would probably have a decent NIL collective, but Oregon obviously has I would think, that Phil Knight Nike money. But then Florida State, I know, had kind of had some issues with it. Maybe they got their ducks in a row. Who knows? Oklahoma also, as you alluded to, I know they obviously, big time football program. So maybe that's the case. But man, I was shocked to see that this offseason. So let me
just add this piece of it for the team, and that is, while losing the talent that they lost is tremendous, and just talent-wise, they are not going to recuperate that. But mindset-wise and of the locker room, and what Shane Beamer has this team thinking is everybody that is on that team currently wants to be there. They want to be in South Carolina. They want to win games at South Carolina. There's no, I'm trying to make it here, I'm trying to get there. You've gotten all that mentality out of there. This is everybody that is left wants to be in South Carolina, and they're going to go out there. And while they may not be as talented as a lot of other schools, they're going to play hard for South Carolina.
Yeah, and look, sometimes I think you look at Texas A&M a season ago, and I don't know if it's Jimbo or what, but there's certain instances, or the Miami Hurricanes. Look at them, where sometimes you have a talented roster, but handling the egos. Some people they're mad, this. Sometimes if you just get the right guys that want to play there and want to win and are gonna, show up and be there for you, sometimes that's better than the team with all those 5 stars. So
yeah,
perhaps could maybe a blessing in disguise. I want to talk about this offense a year ago. So that's something that's interesting too, is Satterfield's gone at offensive coordinator, and it seemed like they wanted him out before those Tennessee and Clemson games. After the Tennessee Clemson games, you're kind of like, well, maybe, but you look at so new offensive coordinator is Dell Loggins, I think it is Loggins. They were 38th in scoring offense a year ago, so clearly good there. But this is what the shocking numbers are. It's almost unbelievable to me that they were an 8-5 team and played in the SEC, because they were 105th in the nation at running the ball.
Terrible.
Pretty amazing. Yeah, the offensive line, big question marks. 40th in passing offense, but 71st in offense. So not even a top 50 offense. So, I mean, I guess Satterfield's gone. Okay. Maybe the fact that Spencer Rattler's going to have to learn a new offense could be a little concerning, but obviously I think you should put up better numbers with South Carolina's talent. Now on the offensive side of the ball, I would say bringing back Spencer Rattler is probably the biggest thing, but obviously losing your starting running back and starting tight end and actually both tight ends and, a wideout hurts. It hurts some. So you're returning 6 starters, but that's a little bit, that should be an asterisk there. 6 starters who have started college football games at the FBS level is what I'm trying to say. So, Spencer Rattler is due back. Obviously, they have Luke Dottie to back him up as well. So obviously, Rattler, when he's how do you feel about Spencer Rattler in general?
I'm indifferent on him. I think Spencer Rattler is a game manager, and you can put him in situations, but he really thrives more when you can run the ball. Like, you can take some of the pressure off of him, not require him to do much, because he's a guy that's very in his own head, and he wants to go out there. He's a competitor. He wants to go out there. He wants to make every play. He wants to make every throw. He wants to have the game-winning drive and stuff like that. And sometimes it doesn't work out like that. He's very, very fearless, like a very, very fearless guy. And so, if he makes a couple bad decisions, he's not afraid because he felt like he could have put it through the window. So that can be a gift, and it can be a curse at times.
Yeah. That's what I was about to say is like, I think he's talented, but I also think, which one are you going to get? Like when he's on, you can make a case. He looks like one of the better quarterbacks.
He looks like a Heisman.
Football. Yeah.
He looks like a Heisman. And when he's on and when he's off, he looks like somebody that probably should be playing in your local flag football league.
Yeah. 100%. 100%. So maybe he takes the next step forward. He actually has 2 years of eligibility. I know a lot of people were surprised he came back. If he wanted to, if their NIL collector could step it up, might have 2 more years of Spencer Rattler. The running back position, which is something I want to circle because obviously they were terrible at running the ball, but Marshawn Lloyd, I think, is a pretty good back. I think it was more so the offensive line than say him, and he's out to USC. So now Juju McDowell is penciled in to be the starter. They also have Dakereon Joyner. Dakereon Joyner. Okay, yep. Sorry. Mario Anderson, also another guy. They're counting on a freshman wideout. I think that I was a bit shocked when I was doing my homework on here on South Carolina that Nyckoles Harbor, and this might be the freshman 5-star that I think everyone's talking about. That's shocking to me. You can come right in and start in the SEC, so you must be really, really fucking good. Yeah. Antwane Wells, who was first team SEC a year ago, he was at JMU a couple years ago, transferred in, played really well. Xavier Legette as well. Back the receiving core, and you add in Trey Knox, the Arkansas. And Josh Simon. I kind of think the receiving core is fine. How about you?
Yeah, he's got weapons. Wells was his favorite target last year. Bring in a 5-star that can go out there. He's going to be looking to try to make some plays very, very early on. It's really about trying to, like I said, they have talent, and now it looks like this is everybody that wants to be at South Carolina. They're all going to play for South Carolina. I mean, South Carolina has a range of possibilities where they can be the same thing where they were last year, 8-5, make a bowl game, or they could be one of the last place teams. And it's tough. It's tough, man. I think it starts up front with that offensive line. I really do. The offensive line is going to dictate what they do all season.
And I think that's the biggest question mark coming into the season because you bring back Rashawn Lee at the center spot and right tackle Ja'Kai Moore, but after that, it's a lot of unknowns. I think Trey Jones is a guy they're counting on at right guard to step up. He played in 9 games a season ago. Sidney Fugar at the left tackle spot. Obviously, he's the transfer from Western Illinois. They're really banking on him to jump up. Western Illinois FCS school. So, and left tackle is such a key position when you pass the football. We're gonna see how these newcomers will do on the offensive line. The defensive side of the ball, once again, like I'm still kind of shocked at these numbers considering they're 8-5. Clayton White's the defensive coordinator and scoring defense 86 the season ago. They were the 116th rush defense in America. That's shocking to me on an 8-5 team. They were 34th in pass defense. Their total defense was 88th. Once again, so your offense 71st total offense, your defense 88th. I'm shocked that they were 8-5. It almost seems to be like if you just look at numbers, you're like, that's almost impossible, right? It's almost, you're like, whoa, 8-5 to have numbers like that. It's not very common as someone that previews all 133 teams, especially in the SEC. Sometimes you'll see it in like the Conference USA or something. So, or the MAC, but the defensive side of the ball only returns 4 starters. And I think that is very, very concerning. The defensive line has 1 returning starter, but once again, they did go to the portal to add some of those guys that I was talking about, but only 1 returning starter a year ago in defensive tackle. Hemingway that's back. Alex Huntley is projected also to be on the other defensive tackle. He played in 14 games a season ago, had 3 starts. So at least a little familiarity there. Linebacking core, everybody's new. They have no returning starters in the linebacking core. That's tough. That's tough. The secondary, as you alluded to, they lose the corners, but Marcellus Dial is one guy that started 7 games a year ago. So we pencil him as a returning starter. Strong safety. Nick Amanawari is back as well, and DQ Smith at the other safety spots. So 3 of 4 and away. I know they lost both corners, but if you got a guy that starts 7 starts, okay. 3 of 4, but man, there's a lot of new faces on the defensive side of the ball. Yeah, I have a hard time believing they're going to get torched. I was about to say, I have a hard time believing they're going to be better on defense. Yeah.
I think they're going to get torched all season.
They do return their kicker and their punter. So if they're in a close game, that stuff always matters and can make or break a win total. All right, look, we're going to get to the schedule and go game by game, but yeah, let me hit on this real quick. Do you think the offense can be better than 71st? I think it could be
potentially.
Yeah. The defense though, I know they were 88 the season ago. I don't know. I don't know about them. All right, look, we're gonna talk. We'll talk about the schedule. Hopefully, you're watching on YouTube as you see this sweet graphic. Shout out to Cam Kerr, the graphics guy, getting it done. But I want to tell you folks out there that the College Football Experience, South Carolina Gamecocks 2023 season preview episodes brought to you by Parlay Play. Yes, Parlay Play is a great way to get down on your favorite parlayed player props. Football season is right around the corner, folks, and Parlay Play will have you covered for your favorite props. Look, Parlay Play is available in a ton of different states, including Texas and California, plus our good friends up north in Canada. Parlay Play is available in a ton of different provinces there. So, check it out and make sure when you do sign up with our code and you'll get a sweet bonus to get you started. Yes. And I've already touched on this, a parlay that I like for the week 0 college football slate. I like the over. I think the numbers at, wait, I got to pull it up, but I want to say it was like 60 or something in San Jose State, USC. I like the over in that game. I also like Jacksonville State and Rich Rodriguez, which we'll be talking about in a minute, to win their home opener in the FBS against the UTEP Miners. So parlay that and thank me later. Head over to parlayplay.io and use the promo code SGP for 100% deposit bonus up to $100. Once again, that's parlayplay.io. Promo code SGP. All right, we are back on the College Football Experience. And folks, remember also that we host the College Basketball Experience. Lamont Paris was in year 1 a year ago. I think they're going to take the next step to being a good team in the SEC there. So check out the College Basketball Experience. Also, the College Baseball Experience. Gamecocks have a good squad there. And the FCS College Football Experience, which I host as well. And now we even have the Big 12 experience. So we all come together. Those are all separate feeds. We come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the college experience. Subscribe, tell a friend, and make sure you check out Terrell Furman. He's on the NBA Gambling Podcast. He hosts the NBA Gambling Podcast. He hosts the WNBA Gambling Podcast. You'll hear him on the College Football and College Basketball Experience throughout the seasons. And, you'll catch him on VSiN if you got YouTube TV. But Terrell here, we're looking at this. If you're watching on YouTube, you see this graphic. The win total sitting at 6. Without diving into the schedule, would you say, hey, they can do it again?
I think it's right about 6. Right about 6. Not even thinking about schedule offensively. I think they're there. I think they'll be in shootouts. I think there'll be a lot of shootouts, but I think that Shane Beamer and his bunch have found ways to play themselves in a lot of shootouts with bad teams and be able to come out on top. You may want them to play a little bit better. I don't think this is a team that I'd be laying a whole bunch of points with, but because of how I expect the defense to be, but I think they'll be competitive in the games they play in. And it's literally going to be like one game or two that something may go wrong in the final seconds. And we'd be like, that cost us the win total, or that won us the win total.
Well, they get A&M as their cross-division rival, which I think is going to go away when Oklahoma and Texas join next year. But the other game, so there's 2 games you play cross-division every year. Last year they had Arkansas. This year they had Mississippi State. I think that's a favorable draw because you don't draw LSU or Bama, or even Ole Miss. Yeah. So something to note there. But let's start things off. The Duke's Mayo Classic in Charlotte, North Carolina. Any chance you're going to be at this one?
Potentially. We'll see.
Okay.
We'll see. This is Labor Day weekend. I may step out and go catch this one. So we'll see.
We got this is a game, and this is why it's shaky for me, the defensive side of the ball. But the North Carolina Tar Heels are taking on the South Carolina Gamecocks. Last time they played at this stadium was a bowl game that South Carolina won, but also the time before that was Mac Brown's first game back in North Carolina. They beat Will Muschamp at South Carolina. Saturday, September 2nd, Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, North Carolina on ABC.
This is a big game.
This is a gigantic game to me on the win total. And I've struggled with this. I think on the North Carolina preview, I said it was a true 50-50 game, but I think I said, gun to my head, give me South Carolina. But I'll be honest, I hadn't previewed South Carolina yet. I hadn't gone in deep and saw the defensive losses. And I'm like, man, they're playing Drake May, who might be probably going to be a top 5 pick in the NFL draft next year. But at the same time, I think I might have to switch and say North Carolina, even though I know they're not great defensively. This game could be a just flat out shootout.
Take over.
Man. Yeah. I think this one you could end up like both teams in the high 40s or something. But I'm starting to believe that maybe North Carolina's in a little bit better of a spot. But I don't know. Even today they ruled that their starting wideout was not eligible. The NCAA transfer portal rules make no fucking sense to me. It's like they just pick and choose their battles. It's like Devontae Walker transfers in from Kent State, and for some reason they're just like, no, you're not eligible. But meanwhile, every other player in the world is eligible. 50-50 game. I'll say right now I'd give a slight lean to North Carolina, but I don't feel great about it. So we got them 0-1. The Furman Paladins come in the town. Watch out, by the way.
Hey man.
Furman.
Hey man, like it's just such a terrible schedule. It's a terrible schedule because you have North Carolina, then you slap Furman in the middle, and then next week you play. And I'll just go ahead and say it. You play Georgia next week.
Yeah.
Like I'll tell you right now, I know for a fact, and we should be in Vegas at this time for NFL week 1.
Yeah.
I'm taking Furman plus the points. Whatever the points are, I'm taking Furman plus the points.
Oh, I mean, Furman, folks, like I said, I host the FCS gambling or FCS college football experience, and Furman, like a preseason top 5, top 10 team, depending on where you're looking. They're really good. And it's a little brother. They reside in South Carolina, just like obviously. Yeah. So, look, 1-1, but tread lightly. Tread lightly with Furman.
Yeah. We are not saying that Furman can't win this game.
1-1, and then obviously you head between the hedges. Sanford Stadium to take on Georgia. And what's crazy, man, is I did a deep dive on Georgia earlier this year on the Georgia preview. Go, folks, if you're a Bulldog fan, go listen to that. But I actually think last year was a rebuilding year. I think this year's team's better than last year's team. I think that's insane to say. But when I was diving into the depth, I was like, they're deeper than they were a year ago. Now, sure, they're breaking in a new quarterback, but I mean, there's no way I'm taking South Carolina to go into Sanford Stadium and beat Georgia. Give me the Bulldogs. 1-2. You still there? Did we lose you? Did we lose you? We might have lost Terrell Furman. But I'd be very surprised if he took the South Carolina Gamecocks to beat the Georgia Bulldogs in Athens. Such a huge game. Saturday, September 16th. That's on CBS, nationally televised, obviously. But yeah, I got them 1-2. And like I mean, sure, they could be 2-1. They could beat North Carolina. That's a true 50-50 game. It's a great week 1 game. Wish it was on campus, but we will settle for Charlotte, North Carolina. But you could also build me a case. They lose to North Carolina by a last second field goal. And like we said, they're looking at that Georgia game and they're underestimating Furman and watch out. Now they should beat Furman, but watch out. I'm just saying Furman can play. So we'll see if Terrell Furman Jr. can jump back on the show with us here. But yeah, I mean, that's just tough. And then they're home to Mississippi State. Now, we said this before that we're kind of happy. I think if you're a Gamecock fan, you're happy that Mississippi State's on the schedule. You got a lot of unknowns. Obviously, Mike Leach, who was such a big friend of ours here at the on the show, been on the show a bunch of times. Obviously, he had his tragic passing. And now they're ditching the air raid. They bring in Kevin Barbay. Zach Arnett, the defensive coordinator, takes over the head coaching position after winning the bowl game for Mississippi State. Now, that's a good thing because there's a lot of unknowns at Mississippi State. I think people think that's a winnable game. Will Rogers no longer going out of the gun, going under center, which he hasn't done in a long time. So, but at the same time, if you're a Mississippi State fan, when do you want to play South Carolina? If you got to go to Williams-Brice, when do you want to go? You want to go right after you play Georgia, because Georgia is a body blow game. So to me, it's a fair spot to catch them. It's kind of a 50-50 game, kind of like the North Carolina game, but Williams-Brice is a legit home field environment that gives you an edge. I will take South Carolina to beat Mississippi State. Do I feel confident about it? Not necessarily. Will Rogers is very experienced. He's just not that experienced under center. So Mississippi State, I've said it on this very show that to me, they're a complete mystery team. There's a few mystery teams out there. Colorado Buffaloes. I think Texas A&M is a mystery team based off of, the dynamite coaching staff. Bobby Petrino, DJ Durkin, Jimbo Fisher, Steve Addazio. I just feel like it's a lot of personalities there. But let's say 2-2. Now they go to Neyland Stadium with Joe Milton taking over. Obviously, Hendon Hooker off to the NFL, and man, I feel like this game is one where, revenge is on the mind. They beat the shit out of Tennessee a year ago in Williams-Brice. I don't think they're going into Neyland and getting that dub. I got the Tennessee Volunteers grabbing that win, so I got them sitting at 2-3 heading into the bye week on October 7th. Maybe you can build me a case for 3-2, but I could also see a case of 1-4. So they got to tread lightly. Make sure now it's going to be fascinating. All those games I feel like are very interesting. Even the Furman game I want to watch. Bye week is on October 7th. I think if you do want a bye week, you want it somewhere in October. And then they come out of the bye week and host the Florida Gators, who surprisingly beat the shit out of them a year ago. Florida is one team that I'm just a little bit unsure of. Graham Mertz coming in, the former 5-star recruit, but didn't really play well at Wisconsin. Can Billy Napier, fix his career trajectory? Perhaps. I lean South Carolina here, and it'll be interesting to see. So I think I got Terrell Furman back, and I'm going to ask him on those games. So there we go. I think we're back. Terrell, are you there?
Yes.
Yeah. So I was just in the middle of rattling off these games. So did you have them I assumed you had them losing at Georgia.
Yes.
So that would put them for you at 1-2. Now this Mississippi State game goes, and I just made this case to the listeners out there. I said, obviously, I think if you want to play a team over there, there's a lot of uncertainties. They're kind of a mystery team. They're ditching the air raid, going to Kevin Barbay's offense, former App State offensive coordinator. So you want, I think, like if you're a South Carolina fan, you want them on the schedule. Now, to push back on that, I think if you're a Mississippi State fan, where do you want that game? If you got to go into Williams-Brice, which is a tough place to win, you want it after the Georgia game because Georgia's going to be a body blow game. So I could see this being a 50-50 game, but I'm taking South Carolina to win this game. What are you doing here in Williams-Brice on September 23rd?
Yeah, I'm taking South Carolina over Mississippi State. I think Mississippi State one of the worst teams in the conference, and they're devoid of talent, devoid of coaching. It's a lot to overcome over there, Mississippi State, and I didn't think they were already that good of a team beforehand. So South Carolina, I think, can definitely win that one. I got them at 2-2 in the first 4 games.
2-2, and then on September 30th they head to Neyland Stadium. I have this as no way they're winning this because of the way they put it on. The way they put it on.
I don't know, bro. It's Joe Milton. It's still Joe Milton, man.
I just feel like
South Carolina covers, they don't win.
Wait. Yeah. Okay. Fair.
12.5. I see 12.5 here. They cover 12.5. Don't win.
I feel like Tennessee just has this one circled all off season because it's like, man, they ran it up on us. So yeah. So I got them 2-3 heading into the bye week. You do too. And then they're hosting the Florida Gators, who did beat their ass a year ago, but I'm not high on Florida. I know Graham Mertz coming in, Billy Napier already a little bit on the hot seat after a shaky first year. I will take South Carolina to go to 3-3 on October 14th. How about yourself?
Yeah, give it to me.
All right, and now they head to Faro Field in Columbia, Missouri, on October 21st, and South Carolina just doesn't win at the stadium. That's the reality. Go look at the history.
It's a tough. It is a back-to-back road spot. It's the first game of a back-to-back road spot. It's really tough.
Yeah, I think Missouri beats them. I think Missouri beats them because it's a tough spot. It's kind of it's just that one far road trip. It's just a weird road trip in the SEC. So I got them losing to Missouri. How about you?
Yeah, I have them losing Missouri, and I have them losing the next one as well.
Yeah, me too. They head to Texas A&M. Texas A&M's talent level, unbelievable. Bobby Petrino, I do think is going to make that offense fly. Sure, there's some chances that with that coaching staff that it could be entertainment. You could get some chaotic shit going on there. There's a lot of dynamite on the sidelines. Hopefully, it doesn't blow up if you're an Aggie fan. But yes, I do have them losing that. So then they move to essentially 4, right? I haven't been to Florida, Mississippi State, and Furman. No, 3. So 3 and 5. This is a sneaky game. Watch out here, man. Remember, we were in Vegas. We were in Vegas a couple years ago when Jacksonville State went into Florida State and won. Yeah. And Rich Rodriguez does have his 7th year starting quarterback back, former Clemson transfer Zion Webb. All I'm saying is the defense better get it together because I think Rich Rod, year 2, he makes big strides. But yeah, I'll take South Carolina to beat Jacksonville State.
I think that it's just a bad spot for if this was the beginning of the season. I think Jacksonville State was a live dog, but later on in the season, South Carolina started to figure some things out. There's a potential that they lost 3 games in a row here. Like we said 2, but there's a potential that they lose Florida coming into town. So
true.
This is definitely a good get right spot for them to try to put their season back on track.
I'll say this. They don't have an away game in November, which you got to like if you're a Gamecock fan. So after taking on Jacksonville State, which gives them their 4th win, they're home to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt did play a little chippier last year, but I still lean South Carolina to get that 5th win of the season. Same. How about you? Yeah.
Same. I'm not concerned about Vanderbilt. Kentucky.
Now it gets interesting because Kentucky, I thought South Carolina got very lucky that Levis was injured because the backup quarterback play at Kentucky last year was atrocious. So now you have Devin Leary there, who I'm not even like that sold on Leary, but I do think he's much better than whatever backups played. I think both backups played in the previous game a year ago. So this game, as long as Leary's healthy, I think it will be a much more interesting football game. You know what? Give me the win for South Carolina. What are you doing?
What does that put us at?
That would put us at what? That was 3 straight wins. Florida 4, Mississippi State 5, Furman 6.
Call comes down to Clemson. I don't think they beat Clemson.
No, because they hired Garrett Riley. I think that offense is going to roll this year.
I think Clemson could be in the playoff.
I do too. So 6 and 6, but look, this is the win total is at 6 and 6.
I lean under because I think they still could have lose at Florida. I think that Furman could be a slip up. Like
Mississippi
there's too many
State.
Last year, what it was so many games that I were like, oh, South Carolina could they could beat Tennessee. Oh, they could beat Clemson. Oh, they could beat. Well, at that point, I thought they could beat Georgia, but like they could, and so it was so much easier to lean for an over. But here it's like. Furman, like if I'm looking at your first 2 games and you might be 0-2, I don't know if I want to take the over on your win total. So these are my South Carolina Gamecocks. I love them. I hope I'm wrong, but I'm going under 6 this year, man. That's my pick for South Carolina.
I think 5 and 7 is more likely than 7 and 5, and I agree with you. I will go with the under, but I mean, look, he proved me. I mean, look, I know we were right on taking the over last year, but man, I didn't think they would smack Tennessee the way they did and then beat Clemson at Clemson. So Beamer proved me wrong in those 2 outings. So perhaps something could happen there. We're both on the under though. And folks, look, before we get out of here, I had a chance to sit down with Michael Barker, AKA College Football Campus Tour. This guy goes to every college. He's been to every FBS college stadium and most of the FCS. I know he's going to the A&T Central game this year, man.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's excited to go to that because
what day is that game this year?
I think it's week 2. Right?
Oh, it might be in Vegas.
Oh, I think you're right. So anyway, but hold on. This is an interview that Michael Barker. He talks about his stadium's experiences and how the town is. So with no further ado, here is that interview. Joining me on the college football experience, South Carolina Gamecocks 2023 season preview is none other than Michael Barker, aka College Football Campus Tour. Yes, you should give him a follow on Twitter at CFB Campus Tour because it's the best Twitter page out there. Just gonna go ahead and say it. He is the king of college football stadiums. He's been to every single FBS stadium, and his Twitter page. It's not like, hey, go see, the new Mission Impossible and Tom Cruise. It's strictly stadium based. It's fantastic. It talks about the history of the stadium, does the photo of the game. He's been to every FBS stadium in the country. That's 133 different stadiums, folks. He's been to a lot of the FCS, a lot of D2, a lot of D3, and he documents all of it via his page, which, like I said, sometimes during the week, when football season rolls around, he's going to 4, 5, 6, 7 games a week. Michael, I appreciate you hopping on the show to talk a little Williams-Brice Stadium and South Carolina Gamecock football, man.
Yeah, thank you. No Oppenheimer, no Barbie, no Mission Impossible, just football stadium. So, yeah, this is a big-time SEC environment. So let's talk about Williams-Brice.
Well, trust me, man. When I stumbled upon your Twitter page, it was like an atom bomb blew up on me, and I was like, "Who the fuck is running this page?" Because wow, I mean, just. You do great work, man. You do. Tell me about the history of this stadium.
So Willie B opened in 1934. Much like most SEC stadiums, started out with much less capacity, 17,000 seats. It has ballooned over the years to 77,000 seats. The record crowd was 85,199 versus Georgia in 2012. Prior to 1960, what they call the Palmetto Bowl between Clemson and South Carolina. It was played in Columbia until 1959. Then they started alternating between Williams-Brice and Death Valley. And if you are aware of, some of the environments and the pregame festivities, South Carolina, they play Sandstorm before the game, and it's one of the most electric introductions, vibes that you can get anywhere. And a little factoid for you, I know you like football movies. I know you like 90s football movies. This is where the movie The Program was filmed in 1993.
No way. I did not know that, man. And I think that's personally, I know people will say, remember the Titans or, Any Given Sunday. No. Get that shit out of here. All right. The Program, North Dallas 40, stuff like that. But The Program was fantastic. I did not know it was filmed there, man. Now I wanted to go before because this place gets lit. This place to me, I've been always wanting to go there. So, man, that's a great factoid there. Tell me, how many times have you been to the stadium?
So I've been there twice, and I think I'm a bad luck charm. So sorry, Gamecock faithful, but went there in 2020, COVID year. They played number 4 Texas A&M. It was the second game. I went to Georgia State at 11 a.m. and it's about half-hour drive to Columbia. So I caught the night game. This was a really good A&M team. Like I said, number 4 in the nation. They won 48-3. And then last year, I wanted to make up for it. I scheduled another double. It was South Carolina at noon versus Georgia, and then Clemson at 8 p.m. versus La Tech. And it was another blowout. That one was 48-7. So I've been to 2 games at Willie B, and both times they've given up 48 points, and they may not let me back in the stadium. But I will. I have a good, I vouch for it. It's a great environment. And like you said, when the pregame electricity, towels waving, Sandstorm going, it's goosebumps. It's something that, I won't say it's underrated because people know about it. But when you think of SEC stadiums, maybe Williams-Brice is not the first one that you mentioned, but it is absolutely worth the price of admission.
Yeah, I got to get there, man. I just know it just looks bananas when it's rocking. It looks awesome. I know other ones might come to mind first, but it's still high on my list that I got to get to. Michael, I appreciate you hopping on the show, man. And maybe someday we can catch a game there at Williams-Brice, man, because I've been, it's very high. It's like top 20 on my list. So folks, if you're in the area, hop on over to Columbia, South Carolina and watch the Gamecocks play some ball, support some good college football, and support Michael Barker by going over to Twitter and giving him a follow at CFB Campus Tour. It is well worth the follow. You will not be disappointed. Take my word for it. Thanks for hopping on the show, Michael.
Yes, sir. I think I'm going to queue up the program tonight too. So get some old feelings there. But thank you for having me.
100%, man. And anytime, man. And I got to do the same, man. Take care.
All right.
Michael Barker, Williams Brice Stadium. We got to get, I know you've been to a game, Terrell, but man, I got to get out to a game there. That place gets lit.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. It was a good time. I'm curious what he has to say about good old Wake Forest there and the words he has to say for Wake Forest. Cause I've been to Wake Forest game and I thought they were pretty boring. So,
oh man. And I love their program right now. What's going on with those Wake Forest fans? They need to get out and support as well. Look, we're both on the under, but we're rooting for you we're rooting for us to be wrong or how about flat 6 at least. So we're not wrong.
Yeah.
We're not wrong. And you're still bowling, Carolina fans. All right. Folks, make sure you check out the NBA gambling podcast and also the WNBA gambling podcast. Terrell is on Twitter at @reallyRel __. He does great work. He's on VSiN pretty often as well. If you have that on YouTube TV, check him out. He's fantastic. Terrell, appreciate you helping on the show, man.
Always.
Yes. And folks, make sure you give us a follow at TCE on SGPN. We're on Twitter, the College Football Experience, TCE on SGPN. I'm on Twitter at TheColbyD. And folks, we're on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. Subscribe there. Check out all the other feeds: college basketball experience, college baseball experience, the FCS college football experience, and the Big 12 experience. Check out all those. We come together as one on YouTube, youtube.com/the College Experience. Check out the Sports Gambling Podcast. They're breaking down all 32 NFL teams. Subscribe, tell a friend. And also, make sure you grab the SGPN app. It's free to download in the App Store and Google Play Store. And Discord. Come talk college football, college basketball, whatever your sport is. All right. sportsgamblingpodcast.com/Discord. All right, folks, this is the College Football Experience, South Carolina Gamecock style. You better start thinking about yours. And we out of here.
Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And the whole team's looking and the whole world's looking with the gamblers. Run and shoot. We can really run and shoot. And